Blessings to you all and welcome to our another session, our Lent 2026. How did we come with the idea of keeping 40 days of Lent? The very word Lent comes from the Old English word Lenten, which means lengthy time of scarcity and related to fasting, as it was also Old Germanic word for early spring, which normally was related to scarcity of food, as the supplies of food stored for the cold winter were dwindling around that time of spring, and at the end of February and the beginning of March. Until then, spring rains came, made grow new vegetables. And this is in practical side, but the religious reasoning for lengthy fast was the last of the fast of 40 days done by Jesus right after his baptism, which is recorded in the three synoptic gospel and not in John, a very short account in Mark, and more lengthy account in Matthew and in Luke. As I said, no mention in John. With a specification in Matthew and Mark, you have specification of in Luke, of three temptations of Jesus at the end of the lengthy fast and prayer in the Judean desert. So this we have 40 days of fasting. In Spanish, the name for Lent is Quaresma, which means 40. Similarly in French and in Latin, Quadragesima. But in German, die Fastenzeit, time of fasting, and in Polish, my language, Wielki Post, which means a great fast. Wielki Post, great fast. How this then fasting is set before Easter? The Church first had to settle the date of Easter, the Sunday following the first full moon after the vernal equinox. So it's always after the spring started. And it somehow coincides, although not always, with the Jewish Passover, as Jesus, of course, was crucified at that time and then risen 3 days after. That decision was made at the Council of Nicaea back in 325 AD, which also decreed that Lent should be a period of 40 days. Then Pope Gregory the Great moved the starting date of Lent to 46 days before Easter, that is to Ash Wednesday in 601 AD. Lent thus included 40 penitential days plus 6 feast days, Sundays. So Sundays are exempt from our Lenten fasting. We are supposed to enjoy. This is the day of the Lord that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice, even in Lent. However, before the 40 days that Jesus fasted has a great significance in the Old Testament. 40 days of floods in the time of Noah in Genesis chapter 7, verse 4, then 12 and 17. 40 days Moses spent in the mountain when the Lord, with the Lord, chiseling the 10 commandments, after which, of course, the people of Israel fell into temptation of worshipping the golden calf. And here allusion could be made to the third and last temptation of Jesus after his 40 days in prayer, who resisted worshipping the devil. He asked me, Ben, I give you all those kingdoms. And you can find the same thing in Exodus chapter 34, verse 26. Actually, number 40, not days, but years, is very much associated with Moses. According to Deuteronomy, Moses died at the age of 120, and his life is divided into 3 parts of 40 years. 40 years in the court of Pharaoh in Egypt, after he was discovered in the river Nile. 40 years in the land of Midian, minding the sheep, pasturing the sheep of his father-in-law Jethro. And 40 years wandering in the desert with the people of Israel. We often tend to stress the wandering in the desert with the people of Israel after Exodus from Egypt. But we undermine the 40 years Moses spent in the wilderness in the land of Midian, at the end of which God revealed himself, the God of Israel revealed himself to him in the burning bush in chapter 3, and gave him a mission of liberation of the people of Israel from slavery of Egypt. Perhaps these 40 years should be stressed as we also are in the 40 days desert journey, not just as a community, but also personally, to meet the risen Lord at Easter, not in the burning bush, in Easter. So desert temptation and transfiguration of Jesus on Mount Tabor mark the beginning of the journey, and they clearly cite or speak of the story of Moses in the land of Midian, our journey through the desert to meet the transformed body of Jesus Christ in his resurrection. You fast for 40 days, you meet him on the mountain. Moses and Jesus are connected here. For more insight in the 40 days, see my last year Bible study session, number 14, and especially 15, about the Stations of the Cross. So please just go back if you subscribe to those sessions. So I'll be seeing you next week and subsequent Mondays of Lent when we discuss the 3 spiritual practices of Lent: fasting, prayer, and almsgiving, in that order. So God bless you, and I see you next time.